Surf's up, guys, it's MAUISNAKE here. We're going to be doing a choke review of Astralis at the MRQs. I know a lot of you guys watched this one as it was occurring. Truthfully, I love the cast between Eternal J and Dweg, but we're going to look at this game from 6-11, where Astralis have the biggest lead that they have all map, and then get into just kind of how they lost this one. I already watched this one all the way back after having watched it the first time, so I wrote some notes down for how some of these rounds end up going. This is the second to last round that Astralis ended up actually winning in regulation, so because of course they do push this one to overtime, spoiler alert. But yeah, thanks to SkinClub as always for sponsoring this kind of content. And let's get into this one. Alright, 6-11. So, this is a little bit weird, this round from Astralis. This is where things start to really begin to go south for them. We're going to get a pretty much solid B hit coming out from the players, from the Danes. And this one is kind of weird because Alex throws this smoke that lands very far forward. I think it hits the Molotov. And him and his Sensiel are actually defending this together. And yeah, Astralis decided to just go right through a smoke, even though B8's are on a bad buy here. Like, this is 2 rounds in a row that were won by Astralis, and yet they still decide to try to pop this one. So this one, to me, kind of goes more down to the calling and try to run with the momentum. But, you know, you give a top team momentum and one that's playing online, and it's like, B8's going to be able to mentally reset in these kinds of circumstances. They definitely have gone through the gauntlet of online tournaments enough times now that they shouldn't be... I mean, they're still going to feel the pressure, don't get me wrong, but it's a little bit easier for them to reset. So I think Cadian calls for Astralis to slow down here. They go for more of a boost towards this side. So you see that they do the triple boost. They assemble this with device on top here. Doesn't actually get the kill. As soon as Alex gets tagged a little bit, he falls off. They know that that's a triple boost, though, so you can see that this shifts the defense. Head Trick's going to rotate over, and PL's rotated on in. You know, Head Trick's still kind of worried about stuff, but given that it's a triple boost, now he's going to watch Shelf. I usually call that Tetris. I know people call it Heaven. And then Astralis kind of desperately here try to get back into this. This is a double setup between NPL and a Senthil. I hate saying this guy's name. It makes me pull out a lisp. And I think this is probably the most important kill. It's a 3-on-3, and Alex just plays in front of default, gets 1 to keep it a 2v2, and buys time, really. So, Kenzisor is able to... He's bought time for the flank, able to get back in. Still tries to play his life here. And then Head Trick versus Stown, online versus Giga Choke. And Stown also, by the way, ends regulation, I think, with 5 kills. He's on 4 for this one. So yeah, this is just a masterclass in choke from him overall. I think this is just a full-on A-hit that comes about. Head Trick is just going to get a big mow-down. Common spot for Operas to start, frequently called Brokey, the front of Temple area. And yeah, this is really just a pretty nice cleanup for him. Kenzie comes in as well. And it's starting to slip away from Astralis. They go for that one play at 6-11 to try to pop a smoke against a half buy, and this is where it just gets worse and worse and worse for them. For Astralis to miss 5 consecutive majors is disastrous. Okay, let me, like, narrative-wise just drive that one home for you guys. That this was a little flash pop play. Essential actually smoked himself off a cave, runs through his own smoke. A lot of pressure from the mid players as well. Just pushes Astralis back completely. This one gets a little bit weird. Just like NPL realizes that there could be a lurk timing for somebody on Astralis. He actually, I think he re-smokes the bottom of mid here. It's a cool little lineup that he has. But then he just kind of has to hold a few different angles. They have the bomb control, so he's just trying to watch, like, to make sure that nobody's flanking them. But yeah, no, this has been a disaster, guys, for Astralis. Like, don't get that confused that like an org of their magnitude can sustain this. Astralis are... They've got a headquarters in downtown Copenhagen, and Copenhagen is not cheap. Okay, like, that is serious real estate. They sold off their League of Legends team to try to secure this whole Cadian or the Stown Yabby transfer of $2 million. These guys, I don't know how they can even survive at this point. So, Astralis just go for a full A hit this time around. Stair does what he can. And, yeah, Kenzie-Sor and Headtrick just kind of, everybody's connecting to just slow this one down. Pretty lifeless hit at this point for the side of Astralis, like no real utility. They at least go for some nice jiggle peeks into it. But, yeah, just kind of war of attrition, and the better guns at range are going to win that. So, rare Kenzie-Sor, good round. I feel like he's kind of been the weakest player for me when I watch Bait. However, he is a support player. He is oftentimes in the back line throwing flashes for them. So, ends up doing some good work here. And for Bait, on the other hand, I mean, they've been really close a couple times in RMRs. I think they were 2-2 at the Rio Major, if memory serves me correctly. And they were a team that last Major, I thought that, given their online results, they were actually going to make it all the way through to the Major. But it was kind of Passion UA that sort of sprouted out of nowhere to do well out of the Ukrainian online scene. But it's cool to see that Bait make it. I've actually really liked the journey of NPL and Headtrick. NPL, of course, getting completely bodied verbally by Simple throughout his time with Na'Vi, then becomes a fragging in-game leader for this team. Headtrick, on the other hand, developing his game a bit as an opper. He's still a bit passive for my liking, but I don't think that's... I'm kind of having to just come to terms with the fact that you just can't be Simple every game and expect to win. And this setup between Headtrick and Kenzie-Sor is pretty nice because it allows Kenzie-Sor to play on this side of default because he can keep himself exposed to main. So, yeah, Astralis just completely unaware of that position. Could have probably tucked for like a little bit longer. This round almost ends up with a device 1v3, so we're going to keep it on his perspective. Cadian gets caught out in just a second here. Like, he's kind of in no man's land. Still hasn't really picked a spot in the post plant. Like, it's just not a good way to play that. And device, like 4 HP, looks like this one's done, but that headshot makes you believe for a split second, and Alex just cleans him up. Alex, in the late round, seems to be the person in this game who holds his nerve the best, if you actually didn't watch this one back. And now, this round is kind of Cadian going to a super basic strategy because things aren't working for him and his team. I'm a little bit surprised that Stair actually gets this much real estate, but I think they spot Headtrick on that jump across. I think he could definitely see him on the radar there. So, Smoke is there for the entry path, tries to break it himself. Counter Molotov as well, but they've already taken so much space. And now, yeah, this is kind of getting awkward for the side. You know, this is getting really awkward for them. Kenzie-Sor is not even really spraying at the right angle. And this is pretty much just a 5v4 post plan already. And there's even a mid lurk for Stair here. So, this is just a round where, unfortunately, in a lot of the rounds, I would say Bait did a really great job of playing to win. This is one where they were on their heels for a little bit more of it. And now they're just going for a really desperate retake attempt. Like, this is just kind of look at this. Like, that's just never going to go well, really. Like you're trying to self-flash yourself out of that. And, yeah, no real chance in this one. And I think that in the time, when it hits overtime, you can tell that Cadian tells the team, okay, guys, like, we kind of choked a big lead here. We were playing a little bit too fast. So what they're going to do here is play a lot slower. And you usually see this kind of mental reset for a lot of teams once overtime hits, especially good teams where, you know, they go for the boost. They don't actually try to just send it completely out mid. The smoke covers this completely. You can't see over this. I don't really even know the value, if I'm being honest with you, of boosting in CS2 because if they throw a good smoke, this is always going to block vision. I don't know if anybody can explain to me why. Maybe if the smoke goes a little bit far, I guess, sometimes it dribbles out. But if they throw the right smoke, but I guess you're just banking on the fact that they throw a slightly bad smoke, though. So, it's a bit of a late mid take. You're going to see that, I think it's NPL gets caught here. He goes for a little bit of a spam. You know, this is not too scary usually to go for this, but Stair just instantly nails him in the face back. And then this is so awkward. Like, this is where I think Stown is clearly a choker. It's like, why are you just jump spotting into this with a nade in hand? Because now you lose the A main pincer completely. And if anybody sold this game for Astralis, I'm gonna say it's like two things. I think the 6-11 call is really bad, but also the way that they decide to play out. The way that they decided to play at 6-11 through this game the most, maybe, but Stown also probably threw it just as hard, if not more, as an individual. And Stown's just never beating the allegations, unfortunately. I feel like the take of Cadian never entering the pantheon of all-time great IGLs is also aged like fine wine. I know people at the time were like, how can you say this? How could you possibly say this? Well, first of all, the take was actually about CSGO. So, but I'm even going to double down on it and say that it's pretty obvious that it's just not happening. Like this dude is retiring before he gains a legacy at this point. Okay, so this is where the choke also. Well, actually, hold on. There's kind of a weird amount of spam in this one. Like, we get a spam kill from Essential and NPL. I'll actually go back for both of these. Okay, so you can see this one. So kind of missed that. So, just a really typical spam by the CT here. He doesn't always do it. I'm a little bit surprised it's this effective this time. You see that he smokes that. And he just goes for the spam. And, yeah, what are you going to say? I mean, gets the kill. This is the one where they just get a double spam kill. This almost gets out of hand. This actually is almost actually an ace clutch for Stown. So, we'll put it on his perspective. But, yeah, I mean, the Heroic Core really had their time, okay? Let's just put that out there. The Heroic Core, they knew how to play CSGO at a really high level. They understood how to block. They understood how you could gamble more. I feel like gambling in CS2 is still effective, but I would say that it's a little bit less effective. And by gambling, I mean this. When you had Shush, for example, on the A bomb site playing solo, and then he would smoke off A main, something like that. He could just play any angle. Like, he could just play like this and look at the smoke, and he's going to get 2 kills minimum every time. In CS2, it is easier to run through the smokes, and I feel like people like Shush are a little bit phased out for that reason, like Shush himself is doing a little bit worse, where you just want to block smoke and just hope that they don't go through it. Running through smoke in this game just does not feel nearly as bad as it did in CSGO. You're not gray screen for as long. If you're able to shoot through the corners of it, you can see through it. Of course, you can break the smoke with the nade if you have that as a last resort option. So the whole gamble style that made Heroic what they were, or kind of empowered them, is just so much worse. So yeah, it's just like you kind of need everybody to be a little bit more self-sufficient in my eyes in CS2. I know people might be kind of like, if you haven't been following and you're just kind of randomly here for SkinClub, I don't know why, you might be thinking why, like, you know, I'd say I had, again, great attempt by Stown. This was his best round for the entirety from 6-11 on. I'm not really, I would say, like, I'm not as certified, and most of the people that speak about Counter-Strike nowadays are not as certified as they once were, because most people are ex-CSGO pros. We don't really have too many people in CS2 that have played a high level and are coming back to the broadcast now. There's some people that are kind of going in and out. It's like, you know, like NBK, for example, Dupree, for example. You know, they played CS2 at a high level. So I'm trying to keep my knowledge of the game in the micro sense at a decently high level. And I am still playing ESEA main. Like, I know that sounds like it's not a lot to the average person, but you know, when I played, when I did my first S tier broadcast, I was playing at the Premier level at that time, or like the ESL Challenger League level. I mean, main's only a little bit beneath that. I know people, and that's someone that competed in both. Okay, it is easier to play main. This may sound like Cope. Okay, what is that walk from Yabby? What the hell was he doing there? Why was his model doing that? Okay, either way. This is the chokiest round, I'd say, calling-wise from Astralis. The reason I bring up the main stuff is just, like, knowing these little micro-mechanic interactions, and, like, just gambling doesn't feel as good. This is, yeah, that's me speaking from subjective experience in watching pro games. That's why I brought that up, okay? It's not, I don't think playing main is a huge flex, but for people that are, like, talent, don't play the game, Yeah, it's true. Most talent don't play the game at any semblance of like any kind of level. But like, my team is 3-1 in ESEA main. Like, it's, I don't know, and we still know what we're doing a little bit. You know, we're not just running around like chickens. Yeah, they just got completely choked out here at ramp. Yeah, calling wise, this was a huge shortcut where it's like, if you're gonna, and also this is another thing, if you're gonna take a shortcut by just having heavy presence in this position early on, you need to pretty much just hit the bomb site. Like, if you're gonna slowly lose map control everywhere that you don't have people, and so when you just sit in one position for too long, you're just running that risk completely. So I don't think Cadian actually called it bad, too badly for the majority of this choke. I feel like I saw the playbook and variety that I would get from some of the better teams in the world, but individuals let him down. Like, Stair kind of just chokes this whole sequence right here. Like, he definitely had this kill dead to rights, and he lets Kenzizor actually end up getting a kill. Still gets him by the end, but like, you already lost a teammate, and now your players are gonna get traded pretty easily. Cadian is just desperate here. Like, this is just full choke. Like, Cadian might legitimately be the worst CS2 player I watch nowadays. I think Kerrigan's look better. I think Snacks' look better. I think Alexi B looks more in the system of what he's supposed to do. So yeah, I think Cadian is the worst CS2 player in the world right now that's getting paid a tier 1 salary. I said Kawas before, but I was also talking about non-IGLs when I said that. I think Cadian of IGLs is the worst player. I feel like he, one, doesn't have innately good mechanics. Two, okay, it's like, one, he has bad mechanics. Two, he gets nervous extremely easily, and so then he gets even worse at his mechanics. Three, he's like the only person I see that can MP9 badly. Like, I feel like that gun is just purely just tracking aim. Like, if you have remotely good tracking aim, you're going to be fine. And he's still bad with it. And we're going to see a full A hit this time from the side of Bait. Yeah, and his secondary op is also pretty bad. So I think Cadian should probably just go on the desk, honestly. I don't think he has really any place in tier 1 Counter-Strike right now. It's one of those things that, like, there's a little bit of Dunning-Kruger from people when they watch this game, I'd say. Because, especially if you haven't done it before, I'd say if you haven't done it at any semblance of a high level, like, I don't think people understand the mechanical upkeep of most of these players as they try to get through this. Like, the decision-making is where everybody thinks they're a genius because of X-Ray, but the mechanics are something where, like, when I watch Stair play, for example, guys, like, I have no delusions that Stair has much better mechanics than me, but when I watch Cadian play, I am literally like, you put any average Face-It level, like, 3000 ELO player in for Cadian, their mechanics are just way better. Like, it's not even really close either. I see Cadian moving and shooting, missing shots because of that. But let's just focus on this last round now, okay? So, yeah, I don't need to really... I think like, the reason Astralis are bad is pretty much just Device and Cadian. I think if you remove those two for Hooksy and practically, like, any Danish rifler, I think you're going to be in a better position. Just let the Danish player... I think Stown is just... For what Stown gives you in group stages, he's just too much of a choke artist. Especially, and it's kind of like the juxtaposition of Device, who's probably one of the coolest players now in terms of just keeping, like, yes, he was a choke artist maybe 10 years ago, but nowadays he is just farming. He's 35 and 20 in this game. He's clearly the best player in it. And he's the only one keeping them alive versus Stown, who is just... Like, the one thing that Device probably wants back is the shot. This, like, over peak right here. He definitely wants that back. But, versus Stown, on the other hand, who just kind of, like... Man, like, this... He can be kind of sick in these kind of, group stages where it's super low pressure, but I don't know, just the slightest amount of adversity and he just crumbles like paper. So NPL just holds his lurk for this whole time. Stair still catches him out, and that's why Stair is good, by the way. Stair is like so locked in on these kinds of things. And then yeah, we've got a 2v4 for Alex and Kenzizor, where Alex actually just completely nades Kenzizor, completely eats it, gets one, and then we just get Alex in the 1v3, and this should be a graffiti. All right, this is Alex's highlight of his life. Insane. Like, look how chill he is. Like, look how composed that looked. That looked so clean the whole time. No, very few wasted extra bullets. The clean kill on the first guy coming from CT. Also, Kadian just, like, not jiggling at all. Just, like, let me full commit to this, before my teammates are even ready. Yeah. Kadian tossed this. Stown tossed this. And Device and Stair did absolutely what they could. I think Yabby still also was, like, completely serviceable in this kind of game. But yeah, that's going to be it, guys. Thanks so much. Kind of a ranty way to just talk about Astralis choking. As always, being toxic is choice.